Hello, we'd like to welcome you to the second chapter of the book of Joel. It's a long chapter, and it begins, Salpisate en salpingi en Sion, kirixate en ori agio mu, ke singhithisotosan pantas e katikuntas tigin, oti parestin e imera kiriou, oti agis trump with a trumpeter, by a trumpet, in a trumpet is more of a trump with, and so you can see the two different usages for in and the preposition. So it always isn't always the same word in English. Prepositions get to be very confusing because so many times they can be mean up. One Greek word would be better in English, but we find another Greek word is used for that, and we'll go into that when we get to the prepositions. Anyway, trump with a trumpet in Zion. And krixe, proclaim out loud with a herald. In oros, mountains, or agio, the hagiography, with the saints, history of the saints, my holy mountain. So now we're being specific here. It's trump this in Zion on his holy mountain, and something is going to happen. And what? Confound all, Pontus, pon being the derivative, the ones katikuntes, the eco again is the dwelling, the land, economy, and the gain, geology. Far, the imera, the day of the Lord, Kyriou, Kyrieleison, is at hand. Far it is near. This day of the Lord doesn't mention too many places about the actual words, the day of the Lord. It has the day and the anger and the wrath of the Lord, and the day and affliction, which both can be found on the word pamphlets on our website under the bottom link under video seminars and the word pamphlets. You might want to read those, but actual where it says the word is not too many places. If we went to Amos 5:18 to 20, you'll find the other place that it mentions this, and it says, Ue, woe the ones desiring the day of the Lord, saying, what is this, the day of the Lord to us? Even then God says, even this is darkness and not light. And it will be in which manner if a man should flee from the face of a lion, and a bear should fall to him, and he should rush into his house, and should fasten his hands upon the wall, and a serpent should bite him. Is not darkness the day of the Lord, and not light, and dimness not having brightness in it? And then we go to Zephaniah 1:15, where it says, that day is a mighty day of anger, a day of affliction and distress, a day of misery and extinction, a day of dimness and darkness, a day of cloud and fog, a day of trumpet and a cry against the fortified cities and against the high corners. So actually here it doesn't say the day of the Lord, but it talks about this day. Actually it is. I'm sorry, I should have started in 14. It says there, and for the great day of the Lord is near, and near very quickly. The sound of the day of the Lord is ordered up, bitter and harsh. So that was 1:14. I should have read that first, sorry. And then we jump down to another place, but it doesn't actually say the day of the Lord, but it's an interesting verse in the Bible. And it is in Luke 22:53. It says, by day my being with you in the temple, did you not stretch out hands against me? But this is your hour and the authority of darkness. Then in Acts 2:20, the quotation of Joel appears, and it says, the sun shall be converted into darkness, and the moon into blood before the coming of the great and apparent day of the Lord. And it shall be, all whoever should call upon the name of the Lord shall be delivered. And again, finally, in 2 Thessalonians 5, the whole 1 to 11. I won't read the whole thing as this is a long chapter and would take up a lot, but it starts off, but concerning the times and the seasons, brethren, you have no need to be written to you, for you know exactly yourselves that the day of the Lord comes comes as a thief in the night. For whenever they should say peace and safety, then sudden ruin sets upon them. And if the pangs to the one having one in the womb, and in no way should they flee from it. But you, brethren, are not in darkness, that the day should overtake you as a thief. So the hope for the people that are following with the Lord Jesus. So this day of the Lord, I see it as something that's going to be after this time in Acts, after Jesus, and I don't think it has come yet. I haven't seen it myself and in the past, so I'd say it's still something in the future. And we were trying to sleuth this in the first chapter. Now we get a little bit more. In verse 2 it continues, Imera scotus ke gnophu imera nephelis ke omiklis os orthros hethysete epitaori leos polis ke iskiros omios afto ou gegonen apotu ionos ke medafton uk prostethysete eos eton is genias genion. All right. A day, a mera ephemeral, again, of darkness and dimness. A day, a mera of cloud and fog. As the dawn, there shall be poured upon, epi as the derivative for upon, epigraphy or epidermis upon the skin. The mountains, the ori again, or a vast and strong polis. We have poly for many, polygamy, many marriages. A vast and strong laos, laity in the derivative, people. Like unto it has not happened apo from the ionos, the eon. Ion, eon, from is the preposition meaning away from, the apogee, from the earth. And after it there shall not be added unto years, for generations of generations. This is interesting what it's saying. So when this does happen, then shall not be added unto years for generations of generations. Anything likened to it is the way I see it. And we know and there's going to be the 1,000-year reign in the book of Revelation. And after that, Gog and Magog will come against Jerusalem. And this may be what it's talking about here. So this vast and strong people, we don't know really who it is. It could have been the Nebuchadnezzar was coming here at this period of time, the king of Babylon, and he did take Jerusalem. And then, but it was generations. It was only one generation or so, and then the children of Israel came back to Israel, to the Jerusalem. So I don't think that's exactly what it's talking about. And then there's a time when Jesus appeared and then the Romans defeated or destroyed Israel. It's a possibility that could be what it's talking about here, because it was 2,000 years about where 1948 when Israel became a nation again. And then there's the other time after the destruction of the civilization as we know it. Then after the 1,000 years, then there is a release of Satan from the abyss. Revelations, you can read it for yourself. And verse 3, it continues, ta empros then avtu pir analiskon ke opiso avtu anaptomeni flox os paradisos trifis igi pro prosopu avtu ke ta opiso avtu pedion aphanismo and anasozomenos uk este avto. The things before him, a consuming pyre, a fire. We have a pyre, pyromania. And behind him, a flux, a flame being lighted. So there's everything is lit behind him. And this phlox is, we have the derivative of the phlox plant, the variegated plant. As paradisos, paradise, direct transliteration. into English as a derivative. Paradise of delicacy is the gi, the earth geology, before his face. Prologue is the direct before him. And ta, things behind him, a plane of extinction. Now here we have ta in two different places, as we mentioned in the last chapter. The accusative definite article is ta in the plural and to in the singular, and it could be either accusative or nominative. Whenever you see 3588 with ta or to, then you have to try to figure out which is the nominative and which is the object. And in verse 3 here, ta and prosthon, the things in front of him, are in the nominative in both places. And then, so the earth is going to be a flame, and as a paradise of delicacy is the earth before his face. Everything is beautiful, and the things behind him a plane of aphanismu, of extinction. Of aphanismu is something you won't be able to see, a phantasm or a phantom. It's a derivative. And one's escaping will not be to him. Nobody's going to escape. This is going to be a attack that we have never seen. And it continues in verse 4. As a sight, os orasis ipon, e opsis avton, ke os ipis, utos katadioxon te. As a sight of ipon, horses, hippopotamus, as the hippo is the horse, river horse. So the opsis, we have opsis as a suffix for sight, biopsy or a synopsis, a brief outline of a subject. So the opsis of them, and as epis is very similar to horse and horseman, so they shall pursue. 2:5. Os phoni armaton, epitas korifas ton oreon exalunte, ke os phoni phalongos pyros katastheusis kalamin, ke os leos polis ke iskiros paratasomenos is polymon. As a sound, the phoni, we have a phone, telephone, of armata, armaments, chariots. Epi upon the tops of the Orion, the mountains, and they shall leap as phoni, again, a sound of the flogos, a flame. It's a phlox is the nominative, and this is of a flame. It's in the genitive of fire. Pyros, again, pyre, devouring stubble. And so these chariots are going to be leaping. So is it actually a chariot, or is it something that's in the future, that's armament that is able to bounce around and on tops of mountains, and so in a flame of fire devouring stubble? And as a vast and strong laos, people, laity, being deployed for battle. It could be Nebuchadnezzar, could be a later period. The Romans are a future time, not 2008 where I'm at. In verse 6 it continues, apo prosopu aftu sintri visonte lei, pan prosopon os proskav mahitras. Apo, from in front of him, lei shall be destroyed. Every face as of burnt earthen pots. All these people are having dark and burnt faces from what happens to them with these weapons. Verse 7, os makite dramunte ke os adres polemiste anavisonte epi tatiki ke ekastos in ti otho avtu porevsite. As warriors they shall run, and as andres, men, we have android, some having the man, having the aspects of a man. As men of war, they shall ascend upon the walls, and each in his otho, the way, the cathode, way of current, shall go. So these warriors are going to be jumping around and going the way that warriors go. And each in his way shall go, umi eklinosi, tas trivus avton, and in no way shall they turn aside from their roads. Incline is the derivative. from their roads. And 2:8, ke ekastos apo tu avelfu avtu uk affexite katavarinomeno ni entes oplis avton porevsonte. And each shall not be at a distance from his brother. In other places, a plesion, or his friend, or his neighbor. Another one of the, I think it was a Complutensian polyglot. Or maybe it was, I'm sorry, it was the Aldine. And so they're going to be close to each other. They shall go being burdened with their shields, and with arrows they shall fall, and in no way shall they be ended. They shall, I'm not sure if it means they shall fall themselves or they shall fall other people, but in no way shall they be ended. So they're going to be fighting on. Verse 9, tis polios epilipsonte ke epiton tikeon dramunte epites ikias anavisonte ke diaton thiridon isolevsonte os klepte. They shall take hold of the polios, the city of polis, metropolis, and upon the walls they shall run. Unto the houses they shall ascend, all these warriors, the Makite. And dia through, a diameter, measurement through, the windows they shall enter as klepte. We have English derivative of kleptomania, and insane propensity to steal. Verse 10, it continues. Prosopu avtu synchithisate igi ke sistisate o uranos, o ilios ke iselini siskotasusi ke ta astra visusi, phengos avton. Before his face, is the prefix, the earth, the gi, shall be confounded, and the Uranos, the heaven, Uranus, the planet, is the English derivative, shall be shaken. Sesthesate. The thesate is always the future, and seismos, seismic, is the derivative. O Ilios, helium, is the derivative, and the moon, the sun and the moon shall darken, and the astra, we have astrology, the stars shall let down their brightness. We see right here the stars in 2:10. That's the nominative. The stars shall let down their brightness. Verse 11. Ke kyrios thosi phonin avtu pro prosopu dinamios avtu. Oti poli esti sphodra e paramvoli avtu. Oti iskira erga logon avtu. Dioti megali e merakiriu. Epiphanes sphodra ke ti este ikanos avti. And the Lord, Kyrios, will give forth his phonin, the phone, telephone, the voice, from in front of his dynamios, dynamite power, of his force. For great, poli, many, his camp is exceedingly great, or many, polygamy, many. For his words, the logos, the word of God, Jesus becomes the word. His words are strong works, ergonomics, has to do with working. For megali, mega, is large, prefix for large in English, is the day of the Lord. And exceedingly apparent. Epiphanes, we have that highlighted because we have the word on the word pamphlets also on this, Epiphanes, apparent. And who will be fit for it? So this Lord's force is being sent by God, and it's destroying everything in front of it that's beautiful and green, and after it it's leaving stubble. Continues in verse 12. Kenin legi kyrios epistraphite pros me ex olis tis cardias imon in nistia ke klaphmo ke kopeto. Now it changes a little bit here, and it goes into a future hope, I guess you could say, of an attitude a person should be taking for this future hope that's in the middle of all this destruction. And now, legi Kyrios, return to pros me. Me is the me, direct transliteration, with your entire olis, cardias, the cardiac. Uh, olis, we have Catholic, the olic, universal, or holocaust, a complete burning. In fasting, this is how you return with your heart, when fasting and weeping, and a beating of the breast, the kopeto, ke diarixate tas cardias imon, ke ta imatia imon, ke epistrepsate pros kyrion ton theon imon, oti eleimon, ke iktirmon esti, makrothimos, ke poielios, ke metanon epi tes kakias. And tear your hearts and not your garments, the cardias. God wants our hearts to be changed, not to tearing the garments and making a physical change, showing something physical. You want to get rid of your sin. You throw away whatever causes you to sin. But if your heart is not towards God, then it's still not right. And it's God wants our hearts. And return to the Lord, Kyrion, Theon, theology, your God. For he is merciful, eleimon. We have eleemosynary is charity, and the Kyrie eleison, Lord have mercy, the eleison, eleimon. Here you can see the similarities. He is makrothimos. It's orange, so you can add this to English derivatives. It's not in the book. And macro is long, and the number 2372, themos, fume, is a derivative from the themos, fume. 3117 is macro for this number 3115.1. For the Lord, his lenient and poielios, full of mercy. Polis, number 4183 is much, and 1656 is Elios. We had that for it's mercy, and full of mercy, compound word. And changing his mind, some translations have repenting over concerning his evils, over his kakias. The kaka is something that's bad. And then 2:14, it continues. Tis ethan in epistrepsi, ke metanoisi, ke ipolypsite opiso aftu evlogian, ke thesian, ke spondin, kyrio to theoimon. Who knows if he shall turn and change his mind? And David had that he had that to an incident where God was gave him a choice of destroying the people by plague and destroying it by the enemy or the hand of God. And when he took the census, and he chose the hand of God because he knew the Lord was merciful and could change his mind. And the Lord did stop the destruction halfway or less. And who knows if he shall change his mind and leave behind him a blessing. Evlogian, we have an eulogy as a good words about people. And even a sacrifice offering and a libation offering to the Lord our God, Theo. 2:15, salpisate salpingi in Zion, agiasate nistian, kirixate therapian. So this goes back to the very first verse where trumpet in Zion, proclaim my holy mountain, confound all the ones dwelling in the land, for the day of the Lord is near. But now trumpet, and sanctify a fast. Proclaim a therapian, a sacred service. A therapy is the English derivative, direct transliteration. And then it continues, synagogate leon, agiasate ecclesian. Gather together people. Leon, synagogue, we have a synagogue, it's another direct transliteration. Agiasate, Hagia, the priest, and sanctify a ecclesian, assembly, the ecclesia. In Spanish it's an iglesia. And then it says choose, and we'll jump up to the next place. Choose elders, presbyterus, synagogate nipia thilazonta mastus, exeltheto, nymphios ek tu ketonos avtu, ke nymphi ek tu pastu avtis. And earlier was these in the Bible it talks about this time going that's going to be very difficult in the in verse 1:8, where the woman or the virgin is crying out for her husband, and here it's changing. Then gathered together, synagogate, again the infants nursing, mastus. We have a mastectomy for the breast, the English derivative, the mast. And let the nymphios, that's like a nymphy, right down here is the bride and the groom, a little masculine ending and a feminine ending with the nymphi. Let the groom go forth from ek, his bedroom, and the bride, the nymphi, ek to pastu, for her nuptial chamber. 2:17. Anameson tis kripidos ke tu thesiastiriu clavsonte iris liturguntes to Kyrio ke eruse phise Kyrie tu leosu ke me thos tin kleronomian su is oni these mos tu katarxe af ton ethnon opos me eposin entis ethnici pu esti otheos avton. And it starts up here, the priests, 1-2, iris, hieroglyphic, priestly writings, ministering, liturguntes, liturgy, ministering, then I jump up here between the footing and the altar, they shall weep to the Lord. So now the priesthood is changing and they're weeping to God. They're coming to him rather than away from him. And they shall say, spare, O Lord, Kyrie, to laity your people, and you should not give your inheritance unto scorn for the nations to rule them. Ethnics, as a derivative, so that among the ethnici, the nations, they should not say, where is their God? Theos. And we've seen that this cry of to God of, the people that are destroying us are worse than we are. So why are you allowing this to happen? But yet we know that God did allow this to happen. But we go down further and we'll see how God does spare. And the book of Jeremiah goes into this in detail back and forth because it hadn't happened yet in Jeremiah, this destruction by Nebuchadnezzar. And it's going on, and then afterwards prophecies about how people God used these evil nations to chastise his people. Even though he loved his people, he allowed this chastisement to go on. The Romans were allowed to chastise Israel, and they were taken away for 2,000 years with the Messiah coming and being rejected. In verse 18, it continues here. Zilose Kyrios tigin avtu, ke aphisato tu leu avtu. But the Lord was jealous. Zilose is a past tense, zelo, and we have zeal. It was jealous of his gein, the genealogy of his land, and he spared his leu, papal laity. 2:19, ke apokrithi Kyrios, ke ipeto leo avtu, idou ego axapostello, imin ton siton, ke ton enon, ke to eleon, ke emplisthesis the avton, ke u thoso imas ukete is oni these mon intis ethnici. So now, instead of before when the locust and the caterpillar destroyed the land, here we're seeing the opposite. And verse 2, and the Lord answered Kyrios and said to his leu, behold, ego, I, ego, the personal pronoun, I exapostello, apostle, is here, an X is from. It's a compound word. I shall send you out. And I shall send out to you the ceton, the parasite, the site, next to the grain. I will send out to you the grain and the enon, vino, and the eleon, olea. And you shall be filled up of them. So now it's going to come back to them. In Israel today in 1948, it has come back to them. Praise the Lord. And I will not give you up any longer for scorning among the nations. The ethnic is a derivative. In verse 220, Ke ton apovora ek dioxo afimon, ke exoso af ton isgin anidron, ke afanio to prosopon af tu istin thalason, tin protein ke taopiso af tu istin thalason, tin escatin, ke anavisate isapria af tu, ke anavisate o vromos af tu, o te megaline ta erga af tu. Okay, this is interesting on 220. And the one from the north, the Vora, we have the Aurora Borealis, the northern lights. This land from the north, it mentions out. I will drive out from you. This land from the north apparently is coming down. What's the country that's the most far north of Israel? If you look on a map, you'll see today it's Russia. Was the Soviet Union. I have a map in 1709. Magog is up in where Russia is, Siberia, in that part. And the north could be. I will drive out from you, and I will push him into a waterless geology, a waterless land. And I will obliterate his face into the foremost sea, and the ones of his rear unto the latter sea. Could be the Mediterranean and the Dead Sea, Black Sea, could be the different seas. It doesn't say which one, but the foremost and the latter. We can look in the Bible and other places and see which is the foremost and the latter to get an idea. And his rottenness shall ascend, and his groaning shall ascend. Let's see, I'm not sure where I went for the Greek if I even did this. Ke apo vora ek dioxo from you, and I will push him into a waterless land. I will obliterate his face into the foremost. Ke ta opiso af tu istin thalacentin escatin. Ke anavisate isapria af tu, and his rottenness shall ascend. Ke anavisate ovromos af tu, as groaning shall ascend. Oti megaline ta erga af tu. He magnified his works, emega and ergonomics. Tharsi, gi hare ke ephreno, oti megaline kyrios tu pise. Be of courage, land. I put the O, land. Be of courage, land. Rejoice. Hire, we have cheer as a derivative, and ephrenu, ephracy is the English derivative for the Lord magnified, megaline, to pise, to do or to act. 4160, we mentioned this so many places. Hopefully if you're going through the books by their numbers, 1, 2, 3, the smallest to the largest writer, you'll be going through the correct way to follow the grammar. If you just jump around, then you might not know about this 4160 as being the number one verb, the do, that's being used. In verse 22 it continues, Tharsite katini tu pediu oti vevlastike ta pedia tis erimu oti xilu inika karpon aftu siki ke ampelos edoken iskin afton, the opposite of the first chapter. Be of courage, O cattle of the plain. Now they're going to have something to eat. For the plains, here we have in 222, the nominative, the plains of the wilderness have burst forth. For the tree, xylon, the wooden instrument, xylophone, wood. The tree bore fruit as carpone. Carpo is a common prefix for fruit in English. And the fig tree and grapevine yielded their strength. Verse 23. Ke ta tekna sion harite, ke ephranes the epikirio theoimon. Dioti edoken imin ta vromata is theokasinin. Ke vrexi imin iaton proimon, ke opsimon kathos emprosthen. And the children, 23, the nominative, the children of Zion, rejoice and be glad, hyrate, cheer and be glad over the Lord, Kyriou Theou. For he gave to you the broma, ta bromata is accusative, he gave to you the food, the foods. And bromo-seltzer, we mentioned before, is a derivative, for righteousness. And he shall reign to you early eaton, rain, and late, as before. In verse 24, ke pleisthisonte e alonis situ, ke iparakithisonte e lini avtu, ke eleu. And the threshing floor shall be filled. Pleisthisonte shall be thesonte, future, and the plethora, something full. Of situ, again, the parasite, as the derivative, the one by the grain. And the vats shall be overflowing of inu, vino, wine, and eleu, oleo, oil. Ke ana tapodoso imin antiton eton on katephagen e erisivi ke ovrukos ke akris ke I campi I dinamis mu I megali in exapostela stila is imas. And I will recompense to you, anti, for, or against, and here it's for, the years which the blight devoured. Remember we had that in the first chapter, the blight. And the grasshopper, which came before the blight, and the locust, and the caterpillar. By my great force, so his great force, which I sent unto you. This force is being sent by God, but it doesn't necessarily mean, I don't see this here at all, meaning a force of the saints, but I see that this is a force that was destroying these people that God allowed. Could be he's talking about Nebuchadnezzar or the Romans, or a future force that's coming against. But I don't see the future force as being this one in particular, because the future force is going to be destroyed. Verse 26, ke phagasthe vrosi ke emplisthesasthe ke inesate to onomakiriu tu theu imon, o sapis se methimon, istavmazia ke umi katiskinthi, o leos mu, iston iona. And 226, you shall eat phagasthe. We have phag is a derivative for the esophagus, is the throat, the eso and within the throat. You shall eat phag with solid food, and pleisthisate shall be filled up. Plethora, again the pleth. And shall praise the onoma kiriu, the name, onomatopoeia, the ononama, noma, the name of the Lord, Theou, your God, who did 4160 wonders, Thabmazia, among you, and in no way shall my people be disgraced, laos, laity, into the eon. So there's going to be this restriction, and then the people will not be disgraced into the eon. It doesn't say forever, but into the eon, which could be a certain period of time. There's eon of eons, which gives that idea of an eternal time. There's a lot of people that rather have me say, instead of eternal, have it an eonial. That's another subject we'll get to, but this eon. So it could be just a certain period of time. Verse 27, Ke epigenosis the oti en meso tu Israel ego imi, ke ego kyrios o theos imon, ke uk estin et ti plin emu ke umi kataiskin thosin eti oleos mu iston iona. And you shall realize, recognize, epigano, the gano, recognize, gano. It has a little bit of a derivative there. You shall realize or recognize that in Meso, middle, Mesopotamia, the river, middle of the rivers, that in the middle, I am, ego, the ego. Here you see the ego, me. The I am. Jesus says, I am the I am. in the New Testament, that I am in the midst of Israel. This I am is used many, many places, though. So it's when you say that I am, I think he was. It's not really his name. I don't see that any place. The Lord's name is not I am, but it's he uses that as like that is who I am. I am the I am. It's not he is who he is, not somebody that's going to be or was, but I am. And I am in the midst of the rivers. And here it just says what he is. K and even I, ego, Kyrios, and there's this, the Lord, your God, Theos. And the Kyrios and here in the Greek is the Lord. All caps means that it has the Yahweh in the Hebrew. If it's a small L, capital L, small O-R-D, then it's in the New Testament with Jesus, or in the Old Testament, the Lord is Kyrios is a Lord, the title. Someplace it has Kyrios, Kyrios. And there is not any besides me, and in no way shall my people, the Laos Mu, be disgraced into the Iona, into the eons, one eon, to the eon. And then verse 28, it continues, and it's interesting here with the Spirit being poured out. Ke este metatavta ekeo apo tu pneumatos mu, epi pas and sarka, ke profitevsusin imon, ke ethigateris imon, ke e presviteri imon, enipnia, enipnias thesonte, ke e neoniski imon arasis opsonte. And it will be after these things. I will pour out ekeo from my pneumatos. The pneumatics is the derivative, the spirit. It's not talking about his breath, but it's from the spirit. I see it here. The other places it is breath. Upon all flesh. So now, before he had to do with Israel, but now God is directing this spirit to be poured out upon all flesh. And your sons and your thigateres, the daughter, dot, D-A-U-G, and the-U-G-A-T, or derivative is daughter. Your daughters, profitevsusin, prophesy. It's a direct transliteration. The daughters shall prophesy. And so women are prophesying in the ecclesias, in the church. And your older men, the presbytery, the Presbyterian being the elders, shall dream dreams. Anipnia, we have the English derivative hypnosis for both of these words, 1797 and 98. Anipnia, hypnotic, with the ha sound, because these start with a vowel, as I mentioned before, then the ha sound in English for the word that's a derivative has. And your young men shall see visions. Verse 29, it continues, Ke ge epitus dhulus ke epitas dhulas entes imeres akines ekeo apo tu pneumatos mu. And we read how this period of time was given in Acts 2:20, how it says, and I will execute miracles in heaven upwards, when the Spirit was poured out. And your old men shall, in verse 16, and I will pour out my Spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, and your young men shall see visions, and your old men shall dream dreams. And so even upon the manservants and the maidservants in those imeres days, I will pour out from my pneumatos. In verse 2:30, so this is the time of the New Testament, it says, and after, and I will give or execute doso terata, miracles in the heaven, urano, Uranus, the planet is the derivative, and upon the geese, earth, geology, ima, hema, globin has to do with blood. The ha sound, again with the a, alpha iota diphthong, the ha sound, hema, hemo, and pyr, and vapor of smoke, pyr, pyromania. 231. O ilios metastraphesate is scotus ke is salini is aima prin elthin tin imerin kiriou tin megalin ke epiphanin. The sun, helium is the derivative, shall convert into skotos, and the moon into ima, ama. I keep saying ima, and it's a. I'm sorry, I'm not doing a good job on the pronunciation here as I should, but I'm doing the best I can. Before the coming of the Imeran Kyriou, the day, and then the great, the megalin, and the parent, Epiphany, had that earlier. Great and apparent day of the Lord. And it will be, ke este pas os an epikalesate to onom Kyriou sothisate, oti en toori Zion ke in Jerusalem este anasozomenos. We'll continue with the rest of that there in verse 32. And it will be all whoever shall call upon the onoma Kyriou, the name of the Lord, shall be delivered. I haven't used the word saved. In this case, they're going to be delivered. In all the cases that I have it delivered, they're going to be delivered, and by calling upon the name of the Lord. The name of, it says in many places in the New Testament, the name of the Lord is Jesus. And for in Ori to Ori Zion, and in Jerusalem one shall be one rescuing ana sozomenos. We have the sozomo. You can see it's sothi, the sozo, delivering. And in this case, I have one rescuing. It has a little different meaning than delivering. It could be for in Mount Zion and in Jerusalem shall be one delivering, but that would be without the ana. It would be sozomenos, but here rescuing is the word I chose. And then it continues, kathos, as said, as, O Kyrios, as the Lord said, ke evangelizomenos, os, O Kyrios, proskeklite, and the Lord, the Lord said, and one announcing good news, evangelizomenos. We have evangelizing. This is a direct transliteration. This is the word it comes from. The one announcing good news, of which the Lord was called upon. And this is New Testament has it's all about evangelizing the good news of Jesus Christ. And we will now be going into the third chapter, a very, very interesting chapter. I think it has a lot to do with our times. We'll be going through that, and with the next seminar. I hope you will be joining us, and God bless.